Hello everybody and welcome back to Sweet and Sour Soccer, and welcome back to another week of Premier League predictions. And guys, if you've been keeping up with mine and James's head-to-head, well, it was another decent week for both of us actually. We both got 10 points, which sadly does mean that James still maintains his lead, 3 points ahead of me, 83 compared to 80. But look, we're going into week 11 now and things are really close between us, so it'll be interesting. Hopefully by next week, I will be on here celebrating. And guys, hopefully both me and James next week will be on the video. Unfortunately, he's away for work this week, but he will, I promise, be back soon. But let's waste no more time. Let's get into these predictions. And we start off with Fulham, who take on Manchester United. And do you know what? This one, I honestly think this could be a bit of a bore fest, actually, because I think both of these teams lack scoring and players that can score. Looking at the players that United have, a little stat for you: Højlund, Anthony, Garnacho and Martial have played 1,365 minutes between them this season, which is just over the equivalent of 15 games, and neither of them contributed a goal or assist. So that's really does say where Manchester United are as a club at the moment. And Fulham, I look at them and I think you have got some exciting players, the likes of William, Iwobi. They could be entertaining to watch, but do lack a little bit of a goal scorer at times. I think, historically, you'd be giving this back in the day, Man United 3-4-0, not anymore. I'm going to go 1-1 in this one. I do think this could be close. And guys, I am going to put James's predictions on at the end of the video as well, or down in the comments. So they will be there. Just check either one of those out. Let's move on to speaking about Brentford now, who take on West Ham. And of course, this is a Brentford team that got the win over Chelsea. And some of their players are getting some real plaudits too. It was Tony Cascarino this week who said basically that Mbeumo could be the replacement to Salah. I mean, that's a huge statement to make, but it does show that some of these Brentford players have really got eyes on them and really are highly rated. And, Brentford are a good, solid Premier League team now. There's no danger of us going, well, Brentford could go down this season. You just don't say that anymore. And I do respect how Brentford have managed to do that as a club. Fair play to them. They come up, obviously, against another very recognised Premier League club in West Ham United. And this is a team that, well, maybe are struggling a little bit with the European games. Suffering a defeat at the weekend. You do just wonder, are they, because, they're having to play so many extra games with this European football, because they have got a really good squad, but the quality is there, and only one win in the last 5. I think they are desperate to get a result now and get a big win. I don't think it's going to come now with Brentford at home. I'm going to give this a high-scoring 2-2 draw. Let's move on to speaking about Manchester City, who take on Bournemouth. And look, one thing I will say is Bournemouth got their win. They finally got a win, and it was a win over Burnley, which was obviously very important. Isn't much time wasting time on this, though. I think City are going to win this. They're going to win it quite easy. I think they're going to have too much for Bournemouth, and I'm going to say Manchester City 4, Bournemouth 0. I just think City will be too good. Let's move on to speak about Sheffield United now, who take on Wolves. And I just spoke about Bournemouth getting their first win of the season. Well, a team that really does need a win is Sheffield United. Only 1 point after 10 games. And of course, if they kept that form going on for the whole season, they would inevitably be the worst team in Premier League history. One thing that you could pick out with Sheffield United, though, is the fact that they at least are scoring. They have scored 9 goals in their 10 Premier League games. So that's something to maybe pull on to and go, that could be something. And Wolves, without Pedro Neto, thankfully, it's only for a couple of weeks by looks of it. But that is going to cause some issues. So you do just wonder, are Sheffield United going to say, you know what, we'll sit back, we'll let Wolves attack, and then we'll try and hit them on the counter and get a sneaky 1-0 win? Because how do you replace Pedro Neto? Of course, that is going to be the big question. And how much is that going to affect the side? Regardless of that, I'm still going to give it to Wolves. I'm going to go Wolves 2, Sheffield United 1 in this one. I am going to give Sheffield United a goal. Guys, this is usually the part of the video where I'd ask you to hit that like button and subscribe. And of course, I am going to still ask you to do that. But we also need your help. If you could go one step further, maybe share the video, maybe tell a friend if you do enjoy the channel about our channel. It would be massively helpful. YouTube really isn't helping us at the moment, and we're going to try and do more to try and fix that so we can get out to more people. But we really do need your help. So if, as well as hitting that like button, if you are new and enjoy us, subscribe as well. If you could do that a little bit more, honestly, we would really appreciate it. That's enough for me pleading. Let's get back to these Premier League predictions. Let's move on. Speaking about Burnley, who take on Crystal Palace. And, well, Burnley might not be winning much on the field at the moment, but funny enough, I was reading an article the other day which says Burnley have one of the worst behaved fans in the league. So that's maybe something you could cling on to say for Burnley, they're winning that at least. But, you know, on the pitch, an odd VAR decision maybe prevented them from getting anything against Bournemouth. And they'll be hugely disappointed again with that. They come up against the Crystal Palace team who, let's be honest, have got a lot going for them. Defensively are very good, but they have got huge losses when it comes to their attacking might at the moment. And, you know, I'm looking forward in some ways to seeing what this Palace team will do when you add Elise back in and Eze, because they're the fun factor of this Palace team, aren't they? But of course, they've not got them at the moment, which could cause some issues. But I do think Palace will have too much from a defensive point of view for Burnley. So I don't see Burnley scoring. And I think because of that, I'm going to go Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 2. I think Crystal Palace get the job done. Let's move on to Everton, who take on Brighton and Hove Albion. And of course, one thing that's hanging over Everton's head isn't the Brighton Seagull. It is the fact that they may face some points deduction. A rumoured potential 10 points could even be deducted. But one thing that you would say is they're already 5 points away from the bottom three. And if there isn't a points deduction, I think this Everton team can be confident that they will stay up now. You know, they're building a gap. And whether that's because Everton are good or whether it's just because the bottom three are that bad, it doesn't really matter, does it? As long as Everton stay up and they go to their new ground, being a Premier League team, I'm sure that'll be a box tick for this season. But of course, they might want more out of this result. They might want something because they come up against the Brighton team who've got no wins in their last 4. And, you know, big performances are needed from them. Players such as Matoma have seemed to have dropped off. But you also wonder, they've sold a lot of their best players, haven't they, Brighton? And it's worked so far. They've been able to sell, buy in better and just make profit and keep advancing as a club. But is there going to be a limit to that? We've seen clubs like Southampton do it in the past, and then you look where they've inevitably ended up. Really do hope that the same doesn't happen for Brighton in general. I am going to go Brighton in this one, though, guys. I'm going to go Everton to score. I think they'll get a goal, but I just fancy Brighton to have a bit of a bounce back and a bit of a fight. So I'm going to go Everton 1, Brighton 3 in this one. Let's move on speaking about Newcastle, who take on Arsenal now. And a little bit of a stat for you. Newcastle have only actually won 1 of the last 10 in head-to-head against Arsenal. Another little fact for you. 4 of the last 5 results between these two teams have resulted in a 2-0 win for either of the team, with Newcastle winning 1 of those, Arsenal winning the other 3. But that's an interesting one. Could this be another 2-0? If you are betting people, could be a good result to back for this one. But what can we say about these teams? They're both obviously very good teams. They both can score. And, you know, it's pleasing for Arsenal to see as well that even when Jesus is out, it looks like Eddie Nketiah can step up now. He's got that hat-trick. He could have even had 4 and joined a Thierry Henry club and getting 4 goals at the Emirates if he had took that penalty. But he did give it to Fabio Vieira last weekend. I'm going to stick with 2. I'm going to stick with one of the teams score 2, but I am going to give the other team a goal. So I'm going to go Newcastle 1, Arsenal 2. I do think Arsenal will just edge this one. Let's move on speaking about, Nottingham Forest and Steve Cooper now. And you do wonder whether Steve Cooper is going to come under some increased pressure. There's been some discussions amongst the Forest fan base, which I've been seeing about whether it is Steve Cooper's fault, whether changing him will do anything, and whether that would be the right thing to do, or is some loyalty needed. Of course, when he was under pressure last season, their owner did show loyalty to him. And let's be honest, it did pay off because they did stay up. But money has continued to be spent, but they still looked weak, weak defensively at the moment. But part of that is down to injuries as well. And obviously big players up front, such as Nui, also out. It's hard to know whether it's Cooper's fault or just, injuries and stuff happening. And they come up against an Aston Villa team who, well, it's hard to bet against them, isn't it, at the moment? A little stat for you guys. In the last 4 games in the Premier League, Aston Villa have scored 6 against Brighton, only 1 against Wolves, but then they followed that up by scoring 4 against West Ham and then 3 against Luton. This is a team that knows where the back of the net is, and they can play loads of different ways. We've seen Emery using different players, different formations, and they're really hard to plan against. This seems like, at the moment, this is an Aston Villa team that are set to stay exactly where they are, and they could make Champions League this year. And I do think they will get the result against Forest. I'm going to go Nottingham Forest 0, Aston Villa 2. Let's move on to speak about Luton, who come against Liverpool. I don't know. I just can't. I mean, Luton, let's be honest. I can't see them getting anything out of this. It's going to be a hard game. I think Liverpool are going to have too much for them, and I'm going to just get straight to the result. Luton 0, Liverpool 3. Liverpool are just going to have too much for Luton, let's be honest. And this is going to be a good game, and this is the last game to predict. It is Tottenham Hotspur who take on Chelsea. This is going to be a good game because it's going to be a fiery derby. This game is always an interesting derby, isn't it? You look back on the history, especially that year when Tottenham were going for the title and managed to finish 3rd, and it was Leicester, of course, who did win the title. This was one of their games where it was a real catalyst for change for them. So I'm looking forward to this one. It is going to be fiery, but you do look at Chelsea and you think, have they got the firepower up front? Because at the moment, it does look like they're struggling to score. Nicholas Jackson, they were analysing him quite a lot, weren't they, this week, saying that he's just not really running into the right spots. You could see Pochettino and his assistant were also both very angry with his performance. And you do just think that because of that, Tottenham are probably going to have too much for them. So I'm going to go Spurs 2, Chelsea 0 to finish off these predictions. Guys, if I've got them, I will bring up, at the time of editing this video, I will bring up James's predictions on screen now. If not, then they'll be in the comments. So, guys, do let me know who you think's got the better predictions for this week, as well as adding your predictions as always. And hopefully, I will see you on the next one. Take care, all. Have a great week. Goodbye.